But first, making headlines today is little Suri Cruise, daughter, of course, of Tom and Katie Holmes, Tom Cruise, that is, and at age just 3, she's been spotted out and about with her mother wearing a pair of tiny heels, prompting some to question whether or not she's growing up a little bit too fast. So what do we think? Is she too young to be wearing heels?
The thing is, though, she's just a toddler that wanted to have a little pair of shoes. We've all done that, haven't we?
No.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I wore little shoes at that age, and look how normal I am.
I rest my case.
I don't think there's anything... I mean, it's like going and getting little dressing-up bags, isn't it? And putting clothes on and little shoes on and being a fairy.
She's shopping and she's 3 years old. And actually, I think that for 3, you shouldn't be wearing any kind of heel. Your muscles aren't developed, your feet aren't ready.
Your bones are
still growing, exactly.
Oh,
and to be wearing that...
Yeah,
look, she's not at a party. She's not dressing up. She's actually out shopping with her mother, walking around.
So what would you have
then
done?
She's
Said, absolutely no, you can't wear them, or you'd have been a right mean mother.
Well, I would. I'd be going down the shop, get your feet measured, flat ones, little crepe soles, bits cut out the front. Perfect.
It might have been, no, but listen, it might have been a special occasion, you don't know. It might have been her birthday, we don't know. It might have been just that one little moment she was being allowed to indulge her little girly fantasies.
It's raining.
Because, well, so that doesn't matter. It's probably warm rain. It's Los Angeles, isn't it?
3-year-olds don't know when it's raining, or not, do they?
She wanted to do it, and it's lovely. It's expressive. It's, you know, it's her just playing, really,
She's
at being
3.
a grown-up. Well, you want to play at being a grown-up, don't you? You want to paint your face, whatever age you are.
3?
Yes. Actually, I have to say, I would have paid money, well, paid her money to put shoes on like that, my little Chloe, because she was just so not into girly things at all. She was in Doc Martens till she was, well, last week,
Very
really.
sensible.
Yeah. Her choice, not mine.
In fairness to her parents, you know what, sometimes you will do anything to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And, you know, quite often you'll be walking around the supermarket and up will pop a little boy dressed as a wizard and you think, I know what happened there. Yeah. That was the only way you could get out of the house today. Yeah. And I kind of hope that my little Ben wants to do the supermarket run dressed as Superman. I kind of like that individuality. But I agree with you about, you know, there's a reason that we have to have well-fitted shoes as we're growing up, because our feet are still growing. So
yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about a moment of fantasy.
For dress up, great, but for every day...
that could have been a dress up. Keely used to go to the supermarket with me as a bride.
Clearly dressing up. We're talking about a 3-year-old kid in you know, semi-high heels. And, you know, I look at her and I think... You see it quite a lot, actually, with little girls just growing up way too quickly. And a lot of the time, it's responsibility of the mother, who's like, you're going to be like me. You're going to have little high heels, you're going to have makeup, I'm going to do your hair, I'm going to do your nails, I'm going to take them down the beauty salon. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. They're not allowed to be children.
It's more likely to be their best mate, because if one of them does it, they all have to do it. You know what that's like, don't you? You know, probably a friend at school had that, and she thought, well, I've got to have that too. I mean, that's you can't get out of that as a
3? She's not at school at 3.
You know,
well,
nursery.
also grabbing column inches in today's papers is supermodel Kate Moss. Now, she's been accused of glorifying size 0 by revealing that one of her mottos is the phrase, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, a slogan that has been associated originally with Weight Watchers and has since been adopted by some pro-anorexia websites. Now, in fairness to Kate, she also adds it never works. So, it's not known if Kate actually endorses this view or not, or believes that there's meaning behind the phrase, but does it resonate with us? Is there something in the saying that nothing tastes as good as skinny feels?
Well, I have to say, I think there is, to be honest. I think if that hadn't been taken out of context and, you know, if it wasn't associated with the anorexia website, because obviously anorexia is a very serious illness, but if it hadn't been, to be honest, that does really resonate with me, because I remember being 2 stone lighter than I was when I'd done Strictly Come Dancing and was the fittest I'd ever been and the skinniest I'd ever been, and I actually had normal-sized boobs and I could see my feet for the first time, and, I mean, I can't tell you how fabulous that was, and I didn't have backache for the first time in my life. I mean, all of those things were wonderful, and food just didn't matter to me at all.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't anorexic, but I just loved being thinner. I really did, and I think most women, if we're honest, do, don't we?
I mean, anorexia is one end of the extreme. Carol, do you agree with what Leslie's saying there?
I'm afraid I do. And obviously, no, I don't condone, you know, pro-anorexia websites. And I know that anorexia is a lot more. It's about more than being just thin. It's a serious, horrible mental illness, as Lesley just said. But, you know, I agree. You know, it's just a taboo subject. You can't say it. You can't go around, especially if people say to me, oh, you're skinny. skinny. I'm not skinny, I'm just not overweight. But, you know, if I'm really honest, yeah, I wouldn't mind being 4 or 5 pounds lighter. I can't be bothered to do anything about it. It doesn't bother me that much. But yeah, I remember a time when I felt better. I'd quite like some of my jeans to be a little bit more loose. And, you know, if women were more honest with themselves, they would say that as well. But a lot of people are making excuses for people who are overweight all the time and saying, oh, you know, this is what's normal. It isn't actually normal to be fat, and that's all there is to it.
Hang on a minute, though. You're generalising so much here. There are people that are quite happy on the weight they are, and it doesn't mean...
Yeah, I mean, I am, but yeah, I wouldn't mind if I was lighter.
So I've got friends who are slightly bigger, but they're very happy the way they are. It's a generalisation to say that all women want to be thinner. That is not true.
Well, I mean, I think it's rare, because Rebecca Wheatley, she's in the paper this morning saying that actually any woman who's fat and says she's happy is lying. And, you know, you can't say 100%, but I think a lot of women who are overweight are not particularly happy about being... People live with it, and they get on with it, and they make the most of what they've got, as you see on Got One show every week, and they do, and that's lovely. But you know, I don't think people should be beating Kate Moss up for actually saying
I think
what most of us think.
Yeah, I think it's a big opinion that's shared by the majority.
Yeah.
But let us not forget, it's a Western opinion, because outside of our culture, you know, if you go to the Caribbean, women are, you know, feeding themselves, gorging, because actually, yeah, absolutely, because big bums and big boobs are what is considered sexy. You would go down
prosperity as well.
And also, in some parts of the world, if you're thin, it looks like you're poor, and there is a shame and a stigma to that.
Yeah, but also the thing is, though, here in this country, you know, we're ridiculous because we go size 14.
Ooh, I can't bear it when women...
What's all that they do, though? They call that big.
They call that curvy.
It's quite natural.
Size
Size 16, size 4. We must stop that, because people think, oh, I'm sorry, oh, dear, that must be really bad. I must be a really bad person to be size 14. We've got to get over that, though.
Nobody's saying that.
I agree. If you're that size and you're happy, that's absolutely fine. But we have to look at the statistics, and statistically, obesity in this country and in the West is a much bigger problem than anorexia, though I'm not belittling anorexia as an illness at all. But we have to look at the fact we are all a bit more than we should be.
In my teens, I struggled terribly with anorexia nervosa, and because of that, I've never dieted, I've never weighed myself since the age of 17. And like Carol, I'm very happy at the size that I am. I'd love to be a bit more toned and all of that stuff, but my actual shape, not a problem. However, 2 weeks ago, I had swine flu. Oh, well, I lost half a stone, and people haven't stopped saying to me, oh, you've lost a bit of weight, and there's a really sick part of me that's still getting a kick out of that. And it shames me to say it, because it takes me so far back. But it's true.
But you're aware of it,
and my jeans are a little lighter, and I don't have quite the muffin top that I normally do. and I wish that I didn't feel quite as good about it.
It's not pleasing you that much.
To be honest.
It's not pleasing you that much, because I saw you eat a giant bacon sandwich this morning.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't worry about it.
It's moments of madness, not consistent madness. OK. That's